With Liquor Barn, you can shop your favorite bourbon, that perfect bottle of wine, or discover something new. To place an order for pickup or delivery, download the Liquor Barn app, visit liquorbarn.com, or call your nearest Liquor Barn location. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our email list for all the latest news on products, promotions, and events. Liquor Barn, where Kentuckians go to celebrate life. Cheers!
Limestone Farms bourbons are like a secret portal to a world of rich flavors where high proof meets smooth satisfaction. Every barrel is meticulously crafted and blended with a specific message in mind. Experience clean delineated flavor profiles that will have you engaged from the first sip to the final drop, making your palate beg for just one more taste. Limestone Farms, bringing heritage home.
James E. Pepper Barrel Proof Decanter Bourbon, distilled at the historic Pepper Distillery, DSP KY5 in Lexington, Kentucky. This new release, bottled in a striking recreated distillery decanter from the 1940s, has garnered high praise and accolades. Coming in at number 27 on Fred Minnick's Top 100 Whiskeys of 2023, it received a 94-point rating and was called absolutely delicious with notes of delicate hazelnut and toffee. Astor Wines, one of New York's most prestigious retailers, writes, "The whiskeys coming of age now are some of the finest from any American whiskey producer. This bourbon is arguably the most impressive you will find at this age." Available nationwide with a suggested retail price of $65. Learn more at jamesepepper.com.
Welcome to the Bourbon Life Podcast, your source for all things bourbon. Join your hosts, Mark and Matt, as they drink and review bourbons, share news about upcoming events, interview the who's who in the bourbon world, and, most importantly, bring you along for the fun of living the bourbon life. Now, here's your hosts, Mark and Matt.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here live in the Bourbon Life Studios, it's my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing at the weird side of the table here?
I'm doing great, Mark. We have the table slightly rearranged this evening, this morning, this afternoon, whenever it is you are getting your Bourbon Life Podcast out there. But I'm good. Good to be back. Man. We had a week off last week from recording. Of course, we had an episode come out, a great one with Amir and Cody.
Yeah, man, that was a lot of fun.
James E. Pepper.
Sitting around the table with those guys. We had a good time with that.
Absolutely, we did.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah, so it's kind of fun because we had a guest scheduled for this week, and unfortunately things changed. So it's going to be kind of throwing back old school, man.
Yeah.
You and I have not sat around and done a show maybe... Gosh, how long? I don't even know how long it's been, Matt. A year?
It has probably been a year or so since it's just been you and I kind of doing
We should have gone and sat on the couches like we used to do, like back in the old days.
No, we don't get to use the table. Come on, this beautiful table.
Yeah, man. So how you doing? Good, man. Things going all right?
I am doing well.
Good. All right. Well, we got some fun stuff poured up. We got something new here tonight.
Yeah, but of course we are the Bourbon Life Podcast.
Oh, that's right. Presented by Liquor Barn. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, kind of off my game tonight. So
hey, we've had a wrench thrown in the system, but we adapt. We always do, right?
We try, man. Yeah, we try. You know me, I'm a creature of habit, right? So it's like, I do all the work, get everything ready to. It's like in my mind, it's like I got to keep things going. Maybe it's OCD. I'm not sure. ADHD, OCD, something. But kind of once I get off track, I'm like I'm completely derailed.
We'll bring her back.
Yeah, all right, man. But like Matt said, we're the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their support. We appreciate the support of all of our sponsors. We've had been very fortunate this year, man. We've got a lot of great sponsors coming on board with us, and
I can't believe it.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I can't either, Matt. I'm like, wait, are you guys for real? So we've been very fortunate with that. But man, we got something poured up tonight. I just got this bottle. Courtesy of New Riff. This is their new 8-year-old bourbon whiskey, man, right here. So everybody can see that bottle. Beautiful bottle. I always love the design, and we've had Jay on the show twice, right? At least, right?
Yeah.
Talking about their, like the river, but also the music, the waves and stuff. New Riff, obviously a reference kind of to riffs in terms of music.
Yeah. New riff on an old tradition,
New riff on an old tradition, right? So this is bottled in bond, 100 proof. Wait, no, it doesn't. Does it say bottled in bond?
I don't think it does it?
It does not. You're right, Matt,
No,
but it's 100 proof.
100 proof, 8 year, not
8-year-old.
bottled in bond.
You're right. Which most of their stuff is, right? Or a lot of their stuff has been
I
bottled.
know they put a lot of pride behind their bottled and bond line, but of course this not being unbottled and bond means it could come out of 2 different distilling seasons.
Correct, right.
Or there could be some 8 and 9 year.
Right, something
And it is- there could be
blended
some-
in there, right? So
Some older barrels in as well.
So the mash bill on this is 65 corn, 30 rye, 5% malted barley. So a little bit lower on the corn content.
Well, remember Jay saying that they wanted to be kind of a rye company.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They
Which
wanted
they're rye,
to push rye in all of their mash bills.
right.
And
Good
also
point.
they do a lot with rye with different heirloom grains.
Right.
Of course, they have the Balboa
Yeah.
rye, which is excellent. They have the malted rye.
Malted rye.
Their malted rye is very, very good.
And this label's a little different too. It's got that little drop. I mean,
Yeah.
it seemed like it used to be just squared off, right? Mm-hmm. So this has a little dip in it here, man. So this is kind of highfalutin stuff. Nice gold label seal on the top there, man. So
And this is like, what, fresh released this week.
yeah. This I just got this.
But even the press release was just this week, I think.
Shout out to the PR company, Estes.
Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy. Appreciate that. But yeah, so they do the work for New Riff, but they also represent the Bourbon Life Podcast, which is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen a few people posting pictures of it, but I don't know. Like you said, man, nobody that I know of has done any type of review on it or anything yet. So we're going to be one of the first ones
all right.
to do this, right? So what do you pick up? I'm going to throw it to you. You always do, right? So what do you pick up in terms of the nose on this?
For the 65% corn, 30% rye, I think it's got a lot of corn coming through on the nose. There's a lot of kettle corn, a lot of almost like fresh popcorn.
I kind of expected it to be more spicy, like on the nose with the rye content, but it's not.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. I think you're right.
Sweeter. Mm-hmm. Kettle corn. What else you get?
There's kind of almost like a vanilla fudge or like a vanilla buttercream frosting type note in it. I think the rye is starting to come through a little bit more. It's opening up with some peppercorn.
Yeah.
Some of those like grassy, like sweet grass aromas. Almost think like springtime magnolia or honeysuckle.
Yeah, very nice. I love the color on it too, man. I mean, obviously,
Coming through on the nose.
8-year-old.
Yeah, non-chill filtered. You can see in the glass. Of course, it says right on the bottle.
Without chill filtration, right? So very cool, man.
Yeah, and New Riff, they have a cool way of going about it, and I think they talk about this right on the back of their bottle. So from our founding in 2014, New Riff Distilling has carefully set back whiskey for long-term aging. You hold in your hands the fruits of that investment in this well-aged bourbon whiskey, drawing our own experience as well as the sour mash traditions of Kentucky whiskey-making regimen. This high-rye, unfiltered bourbon delivers savory, spicy flavors over the imitable foundation of mature Kentucky whiskey. So they did it smart, I think, with their distilling. So what you get in their regular bottles when you go to buy a New Riff, it's usually a combination of like maybe 4 to 6.
Yeah, I think so.
Year.
Right.
So they're distilling, but they're, like it says on the back of this bottle, they're leaving a lot of it back to age. So that they do have mature stock.
Right.
And so they're not building here, like, is this 10-year-old company that only has 5 and 6-year-old bourbon because they blew through all of their stock when it came to age.
Isn't that crazy, though, to think that New Riff has an 8-year-old? Because it's like they just seem like the new company still. And to think they're old enough to have an 8-year-old bourbon on the market.
8-year-old.
I mean, which is their own stuff. It's not sourced. Mm-hmm. Usually when you see an 8-year-old bourbon, from what you think of a newer company. Man, I don't know. Maybe I'm old. I was having a conversation with somebody earlier today about 90s music, and like to me 90s music is still new music.
Yeah.
And the 80s music is older, right? So I don't know, kind of funny, man. But I mean, that's awesome for them. And Jay's a great guy. We've had him on the show, like
Absolutely.
I said, twice, and just love getting to talk to him about stuff. So we probably need to get them back on again, talk about. They've had some new people come on board with them. I can't remember everybody's name, but they're continuing to grow. And of course, it's funny because they're in the parking lot up there at Party Source, right? I mean, that's where the main distillery is at, because Ken Lewis was the guy that started it, he and Jay, and he owned the Party Source up there in Northern Kentucky and sold that interest out, I believe, so he could start the distillery. So anything else you're picking up? I see you nosing it again, Matt. Anything else you're picking up?
I think the rye is definitely coming across a little bit more as it gets some air in it. Those, like I was saying, kind of those sweet grass or like minty herbal aromas are starting to come through.
I'm getting almost like a little lemongrass type of aroma on
like
that.
A little bit of mint gum, bubble gum, some like sweet gum flavors on it, but really nice nose. I like it a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, it's really cool to see these distilleries like this, like New Riff. When we talk about that a little bit off camera, you know, these distilleries that have just started up, not just started up, 2015, 9 years, right?
Yeah.
But kind of fly under the radar. I mean, we talked about that, right?
Yeah,
these guys are kind of.
I think New Riff flies way under the radar.
Yeah, people just don't realize it. This weekend, I went up to Northern Kentucky. They had the Bonded Spirit Bluegrass Festival.
Okay.
So I got invited to that. New Riff was one of the primary sponsors of that, but it was just a celebration of the Bottled and Bond Act, which the anniversary was this past weekend, right?
Yep.
1897.
1897.
Yeah.
And when we say bottled and bond, for our listeners that may not know, what are we talking about, bottled and bond? Should we?
It is a minimum 4 years.
Okay,
right?
so these are requirements that the U.S. government
put out in 1897.
In 1897 to certify bourbon.
Right.
Because before that, there was a lot of fishy
rectifiers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rectifiers.
Which I guess technically people that are still buying barrels and
buying,
stuff,
blending, finishing,
they're technically
rectifiers.
Right? But back, I think in the late 1800s, it kind of took on this dirty connotation, right?
Oh yeah, because you could have a
tobacco spit.
Yeah, whiskey, tobacco spit,
turpentine,
antifreeze,
whatever
nasty
stuff, right?
Floats the boat.
So it was really one of the first measures to ensure quality. It wasn't food; it was whiskey, right? It was the first
keep priorities straight
federal act ever done to maintain purity in the production of something that's consumable by consumers. So food was not the first thing; whiskey was, which I think is hilarious. But so it's minimum 4 years old.
Yep.
Has to be 100 proof. Also has to be distilled by one master distiller at the same distillery in one distilling season.
Yes.
And so there's two different distilling seasons, like January through like June 30th.
Yeah.
And then July 1 through the end of the year.
Correct.
So there's two distilling seasons, but so this has to be distilled in one 6-month period by the same master.
You cannot blend barrels from your May distillation with your September distillation and still call it bottled and bond.
Right. And technically, I guess it has to be in a bonded, aged in a bonded warehouse. So, which back in the day was a big thing,
under government supervision.
Under government supervision, which is talking about old Fitzgerald, right? Because Fitzgerald was a tax man, and his job was to go around and inspect things, and he had a key to the Heaven Hill warehouses. Mm-hmm. And supposedly, I guess the rumor is with him was that he would let himself in occasionally to the warehouses and help himself to different bourbons. So Old Fitzgerald, I think, is named in honor of him, and larceny because he was committing larceny, right? So I think that's a homage to him as well. These old tax guys that used to come around and verify that the whiskey was actually continuing to age in those bonded warehouses, because the distillery would have a key and the tax man would have a key as well. Of course, all that's just history, but Heaven Hill obviously is very big in the bottled and bond thing as well. So many of their releases are bottled and bond. Right?
Yeah, they very much have embraced it
for sure.
And run with it,
and it's cool. But yeah, so we went to the festival. It was a celebration, and New Riff was a big partner in that. So they had a cocktail competition, and everybody was making cocktails, not with the 8-year-old, but using New Riff as part of that. It was a lot of fun, man. I had a really good time doing that. Stayed at a really cool hotel up there, the Hotel Covington, which I'd never even heard of before. But it's a beautiful old building in downtown Covington. But yeah, man, so New Riff is, they fly under the radar, but they're doing stuff, right? So they're involved in things like that, little festivals and whatnot. So it's good to see them getting some recognition. And I think with this 8-year-old, based on what I've smelled so far, depending, I guess, on how it tastes, right? But we'll see what happens with that. But have you tasted it yet, Matt? Have you?
I was going to wait until we got a little bit further in the segment before we go down that road.
Yeah. So, in other brands you think of, man, like under the radar type of brands that are out there right now, anything come to mind?
I am thinking of places that also distill, and Wilderness Trail comes to mind.
Yeah. Well, of course, they just sold out the Campari, right?
They did. So
obviously somebody was paying attention.
to them. Absolutely.
But I agree. I mean, I think their products probably haven't been as recognized as what they should be, because they are obviously. I mean, Shane and Pat got their start in the yeast business and got exposure to a lot of different distilleries and learned from a lot of different people how to do things right, which they did. So obviously they built quite a business with their Firm Solutions, but then also with the Wilderness Trail Distillery, and their products are great, no question about it. I mean, to the point that obviously Campari came in, bought them out for what, 420. I think it was a 60% ownership for like $420 million.
Yeah, something crazy
like that, right? And they really aren't that old either, right? I mean, I can't remember when they're.
I want to say they're probably similar in age to New Riff.
I was going to say, I think maybe.
Do they have 8 and 10? I think they have 8 year
now. They just put out the 8-year-old last year, I think. Was that right? Maybe?
That sounds.
So not much older.
Sneakingly familiar,
Yeah, close to the same age, man. So, but I would agree. I mean, other than that buyout, I think their products were still kind of under the radar. A lot of people didn't know who they were outside of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Gonna be kind of interesting to see what happens with them and their brand.
I'd like to see them start doing some more.
Yeah.
Honestly, so their core lineup, they have a wheated, they have a high rye, and they have a rye.
Right.
I think it would be fun to see, and this is not to say that they don't have more done, laid down in barrels that we just don't know about.
Right.
But it'd be fun to see some different finishes or.
Yeah, they don't do. There's not a whole lot of experimentation and variation with their products.
At least that the public knows about.
Yeah. So I wonder. Yeah, you may be right. I wonder if they're going to be doing anything coming up, especially with Campari. And I don't know what we've speculated before. I think with the crew, what it's going to be. Are they going to be primarily to support wild turkey?
Yeah.
For distillation, or will they be more of a premium type of brand? Mm-hmm. Kind of like what Luxco's done with Penelope. Bringing them in the fold, kind of at that higher end, a higher range. So it'll be kind of fun to see what happens with that. So anybody else come to mind? Under the radar kind of brands.
Hey, what about you? You got?
I know. That's what I'm sitting here trying to think about distilleries that we've had on the show, man. So
Woodinville out in Washington.
I was thinking
was one.
Yeah.
Kings County.
Yeah. Well, Kings County.
I'm just like a fanboy of Kings County.
Well, no, I agree, man. Everything I ever had, and you brought that. Was it?
We just had the Empire
Rye, right?
Yeah.
And we had Colin on the show and had that peated bourbon. I was like a huge fan of that, and I hate peated stuff, right? So speaking of Amir Pay and their peated bourbon, right? I was like, dang, dude, this is sweet. I had a second pour of that one, but no, I agree. I think guys like that don't get that recognition, maybe. Mm-hmm. That's a good point, Matt. Because Kings County, I think everything they do, everything I've ever had from them, is really good. Of course, like you said, you're a big fanboy of them, right? So
yeah, I think there's state of New York in general. I think a lot of good stuff is coming out of New York. Taconic.
Yeah, that's right. Good point.
Put out a lot of good stuff.
Wonder how many distilleries are there up there in New York? You have any idea?
No idea, but I can just tell you there are a lot.
A lot.
When you get up into like some of those Adirondack, Finger Lake areas, like when I was just up there last summer, I don't know, probably ran across 4 or 5, maybe even more distilleries just in local towns.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that just have like
see that though, right?
Oh, it's super great. And some of them had 4 or 5-year-old product that they had distilled, just like coming off a pot still and just like doing
stuff you don't even know
doing
about,
their thing.
Right?
They don't have national distribution, but
they don't have influencers on Instagram helping them out, right?
Maybe not yet. But I brought some for everybody one time from one of the places. I think it was Black Fly Distilling. We had they had a rye.
Yeah.
And it was great. A great pot stilled, kind of funky New York rye.
I mean, I love, we can discover stuff like that, like the Ponfay, right?
Right.
Over there, we all enjoyed that. It was like we're trying to figure out the bottle and the patch and everything on there, but we're like, what's the deal with this distillery? And we drink the rye, and we're all like, dang, this is really good, man. So, and never had heard of them, right? So it's kind of crazy how many brands are out there that we don't know about, these smaller distilleries and things that are going that fly under the radar. Mm-hmm. That could use the recognition, obviously, that are putting out some great products. And I think it's great to see, and I hope it continues. I mean, people talk about the market and what's going to happen. Is it going to, are we going to see that contraction? Are we going to see the smaller brands go out of business? I don't know, man. It's just, I think we saw in the craft beer industry, these craft breweries that grew, the big ones bottom out, and then they put the squeeze on the little ones that were still in place, and then kind of this whole craft thing, from the brewer perspective, it didn't fall apart, but it kind of fizzled out a little bit, So
craft breweries are a different situation though, because their footprint is far more immediate, right?
Sure, right.
Brew a batch of beer. If you're
a
just
month
like
later, you're
a neighborhood brewery that can
right.
only keg a couple kegs a month or something, you can still sell them to your distributor, and it goes to a bar in your town or the next town over,
right.
And you sell some cans out of your place, and you cover your inventory. Distilling a little bit different, right? You can't just right? Pull it off the still and expect it to fly off shelves. You got to sit on it, wait on it, and convince people to
buy it and enjoy it. Hopefully, right? Yeah. Speaking of enjoying, have you had a chance to taste the 8-year-old New Riff? What do you think on this Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey aged for 8 years?
It's really flavorful. And I mean that there's not like a lot of heat right up front that masks flavor. Sometimes you drink something that's really hot and just your senses, your taste buds are just like overwhelmed and you can't pick up a bunch of flavors. But like right up front, good sweetness. I get like a cola kind of sweetness right up front, almost like a little cola root beer, sassafras. Then it's creamy. Definitely has like a creamy, nougaty flavors to it, almost like milkshake type chocolatey notes. Then the rye comes in kind of mid to late palate. Nicely long, soft finish. It's not one of those finishes that really burns you up, but it definitely has a good finish. I think
you
the
feel
rye
it,
spice.
Right?
Yeah.
You feel it on your palate. You feel that spice for sure. I think that was the first thing that kind of hit me on the front of my tongue was like a little bit of rye spice, but then that sweetness just like kind of overwhelms it. Not overwhelms. I don't mean it that way, but it kind of takes it over, right? So a little bit of spice, but then sweetness like you talked about. But then back of the palate, man, that spiciness starts kind of rising up. 100 proof. Not super hot by any means, but still a nice little kick at 30% rye.
This is great drinking bourbon.
Yeah, this is really nice, man. They've done a great job on this, and there's no doubt about it. And the cool thing is, there's nothing about it. It's not like there's nothing that stands out, nothing overwhelming, nothing out of balance. It's a very well balanced. I mean, you get all those aspects of an 8-year-old bourbon, right? You get the sweetness that you'd expect. You get that rye spice off of a higher rye, which you'd expect. Maybe a little bit of that oak influence as well, but not too much. It's not tannic. It's not drying to me. It's got a really nice lingering finish with that spiciness, but still that little bit of sweetness that kind of lingers in there as well. So
I think to the point of New Riff and trying to cater, I don't know if they were trying to cater this towards the every drinker, but proofing it at 100, I think really plays down that rye. I think if this were higher in proof, that 30% rye could really lose a lot of the drinkability on this.
Probably right.
And it might not appeal to as wide an audience.
Yeah, and I love their bottles, man. I keep looking at it. It's just beautiful. And this label on this is really cool. I like the way they've done that with that little, it kind of follows obviously the sign, the little swirl at the bottom. Very nice. So what do you think, Matt? We're at the end of round one, man. We've actually managed to make it through a round by ourselves.
Without supervision.
Without supervision.
Without
a guest.
Talent. Without guests.
Without any talent to join us. We've managed to do it. So what do you think? Final thoughts on this New Riff 8-year-old?
That's good. I would like to, it would be fun to try this next to just like their bottled in bond.
Yeah.
And see what the difference is in those 4 years or however many more years. I think that would be a fun experiment. But this is a great release. It's got really good drinking, nosing notes on it. Yeah. It's like all the right places for a bourbon. I think it's really well done.
I hate to say mellow, but it's like, I mean, to me, it's like, it's just like a nice drinking bourbon, man.
This is not sipping. Like sometimes you get a sipping bourbon where you kind of have to like well, easy,
Work your way through
easy, old boy.
Yeah, right.
Don't go quick. Don't go hard in the paint on this one.
Yeah.
But this is like a good, I gave myself just a touch more than a driver's pour, and I've already gone pretty well through it here. Yeah. So this is good drinking bourbon.
Yeah, very nice, man. So congratulations to New Riff. Great job, Ken, Jay, everybody at New Riff. Well done. We're fans of this, fans of New Riff, obviously, but definitely fans of this 8-year-old bourbon, man. So very nice. So Matt, I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break. We'll get a word from our sponsors, our wonderful sponsors who we appreciate.
That's right.
We'll get a word from them, and we'll be back with more in just a minute.
Three Chord's line of whiskeys embody the spirit of creativity. The whiskey is a true collaboration between producer and composer Neil Giraldo and master blender distiller Ari Sussman. The Three Chord team of expert blenders, coopers, and sensory professionals have developed a multi-step process they called Perfectly Tuned Taste. This process begins by carefully selecting the finest bourbon and rye whiskeys from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, and then blending them together. Find out more about the whiskeys and distribution in your area at www.threechordbourbon.com.
Bluegrass Distillers is a craft distillery with a passion for producing exceptional bourbon. They're committed to the art of distillation, using locally sourced grains to create a distinct and flavorful bourbon that captures the essence of Kentucky's rich whiskey heritage. Bluegrass Distillers takes pride in their small batch, hands-on approach, ensuring quality and attention to detail in every bottle they make, like their limited release 9-year-old Elkwood Reserve Bourbon, which is currently available for purchase at their brand new Visitor Center in Midway, Kentucky, their distillery in Lexington, and select stores throughout Kentucky. And with their new distillery slated to begin operation in spring of 2024, you'll be able to pick up even more exceptional spirits from them, like their wheated bourbon and their blue corn bourbon in the spring and fall. For more details and to plan your visit, check out their website at bluegrassdistillers.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back for the second round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here live tonight in the Bourbon Life Studios, otherwise known as my basement, it is my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing? Like, over there on that side of the table.
Mark, I'm good. Oh, well, I figured move a little bit closer
get a little
to
closer.
you.
Come on, man.
So we're not shouting at each other. And we've got this giant, grandiose table.
Beautiful table.
And we don't have to talk all the way across.
Yeah, no, I like it, man. It's funny because we're sitting here beforehand, and I'm like, say something, Matt. I'm looking at your mic on the board. I'm like, I don't see anything. And then I'm like, oh, I don't have your mic. I don't have that mic plugged in.
That's right. I'm sitting somewhere between where Stacy and Chad
That's
sit.
right. Those losers.
They're like brother and sister in like the backseat of a car on a road trip when you get them next to each other.
They are. And I love it. I mean,
you totally, you're like
I'm the dad.
You're like, I will pull this thing over right now, you two.
Podcast over and send you guys back home, man. Don't make me do that, all right?
That's right.
Well, Matt, we are the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Liquor Barn. We appreciate their sponsorship, appreciate all of our sponsors as well, everything you do for us. We couldn't bring you guys this wonderful weekly podcast, right? Without
we could, but it just wouldn't be
as much fun. It wouldn't be as high quality, right?
Yes, and by good, that doesn't mean me saying that we're actually good at this. I'm just saying quality-wise.
Quality-wise, we got good equipment here.
That's
right?
the beauty. So, Mark, you insist on getting us
top-notch.
No, but to your credit,
thank you.
You spare no expense on making sure that everybody sounds rich. We look great, or at least our cameras look great. I mean, I can't speak for myself on how I actually look, but you do. You put a great deal of thought and research into the tech side of things. And
thanks, Matt. I appreciate it.
It's through the help of our sponsors that we're not over here with GoPros doing this.
Exactly right. And that's a great thing about our sponsors, man. It's afforded us the opportunity to upgrade. Initially we started out, just the basic equipment that I could afford to start the thing, and sitting up there in the kitchen, you and me, recording on these little cheap mics and these little cheap stands and I still have that little recorder. You still use that actually as your interface for recording every week when we're online, which is a great recorder, right, to start out with. But as we grew, invested in the Shure SM7Bs, which are great mics. And then, of course, we got the No Mono as well, which allows us to go. So I always do the backup now since we're, we're in the studio here. We can do both systems. But yeah, man, we're very fortunate to have our great sponsors because I could not afford to do this on my measly attorney salary.
Your measly salary. Who works for government over here?
Yeah, but I'm not one of these private attorneys that are out there in a law firm that are making make and bank, man. I work for a company and have a set salary, so it's a lot different. It's a lot different than when you're working in a firm and
it allows you time to put effort towards
man, everything works
toward our show and toward the podcast and towards Bourbon Life. And everything that you represent with it.
Yeah, and it gives me the opportunity to do a lot of fun things as well, and get to do a lot of interesting things. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But Matt, you brought something for round 2, man. So what did you bring for us to enjoy?
I did. I brought something courtesy of our good friends at homebar.io.
Oh yeah,
Kevin and Devin. When
cheers,
I was cheers all. When I was up home up in Michigan over Christmas, I got to stop in, see them for an evening, and they wouldn't not let me leave without a sample. And so we decided, or they decided, that I needed to bring home here a sample of the Middle West Spirits. That is out of Columbus, Ohio, and this is their dark Pumpernickel Rye. And this is a cask strength. Label will say 3+ years, but I believe they told me this was probably around a 5-year release, and this was a distillery single barrel. Released only at the distillery at 112.56 proof.
Man, it's so dark.
It is. This is like the color on this,
like caramel, man. Like
mahogany.
Liquid. Yeah. Crazy, right?
It's like red amber.
So now, had you tried this? Did you try it with them?
I tried it with them, yes.
All right.
And that was actually my first time trying Middle West. Any of their labeled products. I think they do sourcing, so chances are.
But now don't they distill for? Was it? Did they work with Old Line?
I don't remember if Mark was able to say who the company was, but there was like
maybe, because I don't remember if that's I'm just kind of thinking that, man. So
yes,
I
think we're both thinking correct. On this, they do contract distilling of different mash bills beside just their own.
Okay, all right.
So I think maybe part of it is coming from there.
Okay, very nice, man.
Yeah.
So, Matt, what do you pick up on the nose on this
I haven't even actually had a chance. I see you going at it there.
I know, it's like my wife cooked dinner earlier. I keep smelling broccoli and dinner, but I get that. I mean, the rye spiciness comes through. I'm looking for pumpernickel, because I love pumpernickel and
kind of
but
some of those like coffee molasses notes that you want off pumpernickel bread.
I pick up like almost like a brown sugar type of maybe maple syrupy type of aroma a little bit, but that's about it on that. Some of that rye spice comes through, which is really nice. I like that, but it's not 112 proof, but it's not like it doesn't blow you out at 112, right? So it's not like
because I'm not
getting down in there trying to get a good nose on it, and fortunately, it's not singeing the nose hairs on that, but just a nice rye spiciness. But that sweetness, I'm starting to really pick up like a dark sugar, brulee sugar almost type of aroma on that. Maybe some stone fruit as well. Something very sweet. I don't know. What about you, Matt? What do you get?
Yeah, I think that sweetness for me is like raisin, almost like rum raisin or cinnamon raisin.
That makes sense.
Bread.
Yeah,
is kind of like that stone fruit, that dark sweetness that I pick up.
Yeah.
But I like what you're saying with like the brulee sugar, creme brulee. Think of kind of that like custardy sugar layer on top that you crack with
the spoon, man, and enjoy it, right?
Definitely has those notes. But the rye comes across too. I get like not young, fresh rye grain, but like that nice baked in earthy rye bread grain. Like just really nice.
Yeah, very nice on the nose, man. I don't know that I've ever had a Middle West product. If I have, my apologies to Middle West for not remembering, right? But
it's good. It's well balanced. I almost pick up like some lemon and lime on the tail end of the nose. There's just like this zesty, kind of fleeting like aroma,
citrusy type of yeah. I can see that for sure, man. So Matt, it's been a fun couple of weeks for me. I've had the opportunity to do some great things.
You're there and everywhere.
Well, it's funny, man, because I just, one thing that Bernie Lovers had said to me several months ago was, let the whiskey, let the bourbon, whatever, let it be the rock star and just let it take you along for the ride. And man, I've adopted that philosophy over the last 3 months.
Yeah.
So I'm never like pushing. I mean, yes, I'm going to promote the brand. Yes, I'm going to do what I can to get the Bourbon Life out there. But I mean, it's not about Mark Rucker. It's not about me asking for stuff, and I'm very hesitant to do that. But man, I've just had some really cool opportunities lately. And I got to go a couple of weeks ago to the Bourbon Classic for the second year in a row. Mm-hmm. Which is
too. You're one of 5 masters of bourbon in the world. You know your stuff. You're a good guy to have around.
But it's such a unique opportunity. And sometimes when I find myself amongst these people, I get a little overwhelmed, just because these are people that are writing for these national magazines, or these very large influencers, people that really have a great following. I mean, we have a great following. I love the people that follow us. We got great fans. But sometimes I'm around these other people that have 100, 200,000 people that follow them on Instagram or whatever. They get all these likes and whatnot. And I'm just like, we're the Bourbon Life. We're a podcast having fun, right? And drinking.
Yeah.
So to be included and to be invited to do these things, it's humbling, man. It really is. I never would have imagined that I get the chance to do this, but I got to go to the Bourbon Classic and was invited to be part of their media camp again this year. So basically, that just means I get on a bus at 6:45 in the morning.
Get driven around to drink all day.
I get to go around and drink. Exactly right. Yeah. So we went to a lot of great distilleries: Beam, Michter's, Limestone Branch, Buffalo Trace. And the cool thing is, Heaven Hill. They break out a lot of the top shelf, like high end stuff for us. So you show up and it's like, oh, wow. So like we get to Heaven Hill and Connor's there. And here's another thing, Matt, that's, I walk into Heaven Hill and Connor's greeting everybody.
Connor O'Driscoll, master distiller.
Right. So he's standing at the bottom of the stairs when we walk into the distillery. And he looks at me, he puts his hand out. He's like, hey, Mark, good to see you again. And I'm just like, it takes me back for a second. I'm like, wow, man. Because I'm always the guy when I walk up to people, I'm like, hey, Mark Rucker with the Bourbon Life. I feel like I have to reintroduce myself.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people are going to remember who I am, and I do that all the time. So it's one of those unique experiences where somebody like Connor, like just looks at you and it's like, hey, Mark, how's it going? And you're like, holy shit, he remembers who I am. And I know we just recorded with him, right?
Yeah, well,
at
you
Bourbon
bought
Club.
enough of his Elijah Craig single barrel to
I've purchased enough
put his
Elijah.
kids through college.
I've done my part on the Elijah Craig barrel proof for sure. But it's still one of those situations, Matt, where it kind of takes me back. I'm like, I have to stop for a minute, and it's like, that's kind of crazy that this guy recognizes me and knows me by name, and I'm like extremely thankful for that. But man, we just had a great time. But we get there and we're drinking the 7-year-old, which I love. I've become a huge fan now of that 7-year bottled in bond.
I gotta tell you, the 6-year-old,
I know,
may forever hold the key to my heart. But that 7-year,
I'm telling you, man,
it's just so different. From the 6-year to the 7-year, and I know it's hard to compare these two because you used to be able to get the 6-year for $15-$16.
Sure.
You're never going to be able to find the 7-year.
Now you're talking about the 7 years, $50 or whatever more.
But still.
I agree, Matt. I'm just like, so, when I found it at Costco a couple months ago, I bought like 3 bottles.
I need to do the same.
And I have been like, that's been my almost go-to on a regular basis. 100 proof, 7-year-old. I'm like, man, this is so good. It really is such a good bourbon. Mm-hmm. So that's what we kicked off with. And then we bumped up to the 17-year-old William Heaven Hill. Well, I'm a huge fan of the 15-year-old, right? Like crazy. And I had not had the 17-year-old. Haven't been able to find it. See it on the secondary. People selling it for $600 a bottle. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I get to taste that 17-year-old William Heaven Hill. And it is better than the 15-year-old, which I didn't think was possible, Matt. So now I'm just like, crap. It's like, I got to find a bottle of this somewhere.
All right. So off topic real quick.
Yeah.
17-year William Heaven Hill.
Yeah.
Or 17-year Jim Beam Clearmont.
Oh, ooh. Man, that's tough. I'd put the Frankfurt for me, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, Matt. That's tough.
That's right, because you're a Frankfurter.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know.
All right, we might have to come back to that one in round 3, maybe.
I think so. I'm going to have to think about that one, man, because they're both just unique. But that William Heaven Hill that 15-year-old was like my bourbon of the year, right? So I was like, I'm nuts about it. And the 17-year-old was even better. So
yeah,
I don't know, Matt. I have to put them side by side and really just do it blind and see what's what. But man, it was so
maybe
good.
Join us for the exciting conclusion in round 3 here. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
but I didn't get a bottle. I wish I would have gotten a bottle. So I don't have the 17-year-old, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We got yet. And then we got to taste the 20-year-old, that corn whiskey. Have you had it?
no.
Oh, Jesus.
How
dude.
jealous am I? A 20-year
Mellow corn.
mellow corn? Come on, man.
Oh, Matt. It was
How you
like,
gonna do this to me?
yeah, I'm telling you. I was like crazy. But, it's those experiences, right? It's like you get to go to these places and like these people are like rolling out the red carpet. And, hats off to Seth Thompson. He put this together, runs the Bourbon Review, but they put this event together with the help of the PR firm. I think it's FSA. I can't remember the people there are great. Michelle and all the people that work for them are wonderful people. But the event is just top notch. And then of course they have events at night. So the first night, Wednesday night, was the BTAC, the high show. Yeah. So we got to taste through all the BTACs for 2023.
The Buffalo Trace Antique
And
Collection.
Buffalo, correct. Yeah. William LaRue Weller, my number one. No question about it. Hands down, man.
Okay.
It was great. But, Freddie Johnson's there hanging out and talking. It's just a really cool experience, man, because you're in a room with people that are huge bourbon fans. Freddie's there, you're drinking this crazy bourbon that most people don't ever get a chance to even try, right? And I don't
even hardly get to see the bottle ever.
Right. I mean, I've had one bottle of William LaRue, I had a George Stagg, right? So I don't even have any BTAC bottles, which is a sad story. So anybody out there that has any that wants to send them here and let me know. But just a great event, man. Thursday night, I got to go to dinner at Beam and somehow managed to get sat at the table with Fred and Freddie No and their wives. So it was the 5 of us that had dinner together.
Wow.
For the entire evening. Talk country ham, curing our country hams.
Nice.
And I got some, inside scoop and tidbits from Freddie for that. And then Friday night and Saturday night, they have different events. Like the Friday night was a cocktail and culinary challenge where they paired bartenders with distilleries with restaurants. So
cool.
Each table had like a super nice cocktail paired with food from the restaurant. Do
you think that's a trend that the bourbon industry is starting to
I hope so,
down
man.
the road of, like taking over this wine and food?
I hope so,
pairing?
Matt, because I think it's a great thing that they can do, and I think there's a lot of people out there, like Peggy No Stevens, right? I mean, that's her thing, right? Which fork do I use for my bourbon? I think that's her most recent book. But pairing food and bourbon. Steve Coombs, even with country ham, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a ton of opportunity out there, and I think you think about wine country in Napa. Yeah, people are going out there for the wine, but they're also going out there for the culinary experience that goes with that. So I think for bourbon to continue to elevate itself, I think they're going to have to figure out ways to pair. And I think these distilleries, we're seeing that, right? Beam has the kitchen table, which is such a great place. I mean, the food is top notch, right? And Bardstown Bourbon Company has their
Bardstown.
Yeah.
And it seems like every large distillery that's going through an expansion has plans to put in
a
some
restaurant.
sort of a restaurant or a dining experience.
And I think they're going to have to, right? To make, it's not just about the bourbon, it's about the overall experience. And most people that like to drink, whether it's wine or bourbon or whatever, they want that culinary experience to go with it. And you don't want people to have to leave your distillery, right, to go get a good restaurant. You don't want to be like, okay, thanks for coming. Here's the bourbon. Enjoy it. And we'll see you later. Go downtown to Louisville or go downtown Lexington or somewhere else and have a good meal.
Yeah, and from just a pure marketing perspective too, you've got people out on your property, say on your estate, your farm, your wherever.
Right.
Keep them there. Don't make them drive through the countryside back into a restaurant in a city somewhere, or local, wherever they can find a greasy spoon or something. Have it all.
I think that
have the experience.
I hope more and more distilleries start doing that. And I think these events like this, like the Bourbon Classic, I think it's just a great opportunity. Well, even at the Bonded Bluegrass, because they partnered with Smoke Justice up in northern Kentucky. So they had barbecue and they had smoked wings and stuff like that. So it wasn't the focus wasn't all food, but it was still nice food that you could enjoy, right? and Smoke Justice. It's a really cool little restaurant up there as well, or actually it's a big restaurant. But it was fun, and I like seeing these events popping up now where they're pairing not just bourbon, but they're also bringing in these culinary experiences as well. So I think it's great, and I hope it's a trend that continues to happen, because I think it'll be just add to what's going on in terms of tourism for bourbon, right?
Yeah, I think it's a great way for the bourbon tourism industry to really take off. Great way for Kentucky the Kentucky culinary scene to take off too.
Sure.
Right? Let's celebrate some of the great flavors.
Yeah.
Great ingredients that come from the bluegrass state. What better way than to pair it with bourbon?
I agree. 100%. You know, you see like Weta, you know, we had her on the show, right? Yeah. Like super big bourbon fan. And I think, you know, that's great. And then Chef Lee from Louisville, right? Another guy that we need to get on the show.
Yes.
Definitely need to have him on the show. But obviously big into bourbon, big into fundraising, big into community.
Yeah.
So I think it's great to see, you know, chefs that are involved with things like that. Well, even last night I went to the event. We'll probably talk about this more with the crew because we can taste the Bulleit single malt. Mm-hmm. But they just released that American single malt from Bulleit. They had a big event last night at the distillery that I was fortunate to go to. But Michael Crouch, who's the chef at Watch Hill proper, was there and prepared a 4-course meal. It was incredible. Top notch. You know, Bulleit doesn't have an on-site restaurant, but they brought him in. And you know, Watch Hill proper, that's what they do. Like they got like 1,000 different bourbons, and it's top notch food prepared by Chef Michael Crouch. So great stuff, man. I think there needs to be more attention on the culinary aspect of it.
Makers has got a huge operation, right?
Oh yeah.
Star Hill Farms.
Star Hill Farms, man. That's right.
Couldn't get like hardly more local than that. Growing a lot of their ingredients, raising their own cattle, their own poultry, their own produce.
Oh yeah. And I love to see that. And I think that appeals, especially to the younger generations. You know, I say that with, you know, as a Gen Xer, it's like we don't care. I mean, I shouldn't say it like that, but I think
you just want your
I just want
Heaven Hill and a Red Baron pizza, and
I'm good to go, right? But younger generations, you know, it's important. The sustainability issues are important, and I think it's great to see that. And I think it's great to see that these younger, you know, millennials and Gen Zers are really committed to that and concerned about brands and, you know, where things are sourced and how things are being done. And I think brands like Maker's Mark, you know, people that are doing things on site there, I think it's a great thing, you know. So it'll be interesting to see if other distilleries jump on board with that. I hope they do, because I think it can only help the bourbon industry overall as you bring in these culinary experiences with it, man. So, well, Matt, we are at the end of round 2. Man, we've almost done it, but we got to talk about this, right? So what do you get in terms of I was going to say I haven't taken a drink in a few minutes. So what do you get?
On this Middle West Spirits dark pumpernickel rye.
Pumpernickel rye.
Good amount of like molasses right on the front of the palate, which I was kind of surprised about for a rye. I was expecting
the spice.
Yeah, more spice right up front, but I get molasses, get cinnamon raisin toast. There's more. It's got a lot of sweet notes
that I would have.
Like pepper jelly.
Oh yeah.
Like I think some of the spices coming through. There's like kind of that pepper jelly, pepper jam, like marmalade type notes with it. But the finish is where the rye shines, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Like kind of those pumpernickel crisp, bright, like that peppercorn, that heat, kind of that like cooling menthol come through on a long finish on this one. It's oily, it's creamy.
Yeah, and it's like clinging to the glass. I'm sitting there watching it, man.
It's good.
This is really good, Matt. Holy cow, dude. I'm impressed. Very impressed with this. So, Pumpernickel Rye. Wasn't that a Jerry Seinfeld episode about the Pumpernickel Rye? No, it was a Marble Rye. Anyway, that's an old school reference, man. But Pumpernickel Rye, never heard anybody do anything like that, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting. But yeah, so what are your final thoughts on this one?
I like it a lot. Yeah. I think for a rye, it fits kind of outside what a lot of ryes on the market are right now, but still brings a lot of really great familiar flavors and certainly packs a punch. I'm still getting the finish.
Yeah, that lingers, man. I'm impressed with that. And it's, it's a combination of that sweetness you talked about, and the back of the palate gets that spiciness, but then that sweetness still just kind of lingers around as well. It's oily. It like just clings to your palate.
I'm like still feeling that finish. Like
I know.
a minute and a half, 2 minutes later.
That's holding on tight, right? So, man, that's really nice. Thanks for bringing that tonight, man.
Hey, thank you, Kevin and Devin, homebar.io.
Yeah, homebar.io. Thank you guys,
Check
man,
them
for
out.
sure. All right, Matt, let's take a quick break. Get a word from our sponsors, and I'll take a bathroom break as well. We'll be back with more with just Mark and Matt in just a minute.
Hey, I'm Carrie Van Winkle coming to you from Pappy Company, a brand I co-founded with my sisters and is deeply tied to our family's heritage. Our great-grandfather was the legendary bourbon pioneer Pappy Van Winkle, so we're all about honoring his legacy while reinventing those timeless traditions for our modern lifestyles. Our wide range of products reflect our family values and entrepreneurial spirit, from Pappy branded apparel to specialty foods, aged in our retired bourbon barrels, barware, and premium cigars. Just like our bourbon, we're dedicated to quality small batch production and infusing those elements of joy into daily life. Exclusive to listeners, we're offering a 15% discount on your first order, so go to pappyco.com and use code BourbonLife15. Cheers!
The Stave restaurant is a bourbon lover's paradise right here in the heart of bourbon country. Located at 5711 McCracken Pike in Millville, Kentucky, between Castle and Key and Woodford Reserve, Chef Kyle Klatka prepares amazing food each day that features an elevated Kentucky-inspired cuisine. With a full-service bar, great bourbon flights, and signature cocktails, the Stave is the perfect place to catch up with friends after a fun-filled day of touring the local distilleries. Be sure to check them out online at thestavekentucky.com or at Instagram and Facebook at The Stave Kentucky.
All right, everybody, welcome back for the third and probably happily final round of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me here tonight, live in the Bourbon Life Studios around the flights of the rectangular table, it's my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing over there to my right side?
Mark, I am doing great around the table, except it really makes me realize without a guest, you and I are really not that interesting.
Man,
right?
It's like throwing it back, because I thought, back when we started and we didn't have guests, you and I used to do this probably once a month or so, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Mark and Matt. And it's like, oh, that's a great show. And now
we had all these like topics though that we wanted to go through, and
now here we are, 4
bourbon
years
education
later.
and
it's like
everything. Like we feel like
it's Mark and Matt.
We've kind of beat the dead horse on a lot of those topics and covered a lot of that in the past.
We have, man, but we've had a good time, man. 4 years into it, right? So
hard to believe.
There's not a lot of people that can say.
You know what I did the other day?
I don't want to know. No, I'm just kidding. What'd you do, man?
That's fair enough. I looked at our bourbons we've tried on the podcast spreadsheet, and I zoomed way out to see 4 seasons worth of 3 drinks a show.
That's a lot, right?
We have tried and reviewed, sampled a lot.
Well, think about it, because this is like episode 213.
Doesn't say.
I know it doesn't say on here, right? So, I think this is going to be 212 or 213.
Yeah.
So you figure 3 pours per episode. Now we've had some repeats that we've done.
We have had some repeats. We have had some episodes where we maybe try only 1 or 2.
Right.
We've also had a few episodes where we try 4 or 5.
Well, that's true. That's a good point. So that would probably balance out. Matt.
Maybe those kind of. We've had
crap, dude.
We're probably 600 or so different bourbons, ryes, whiskeys that you and I have tried, that we have given honest, fair,
which is
unbiased reviews toward.
That's one thing when people ask me, like, well, how do you do that? It's like, well, we're going to be honest with people, and if it's something we don't like, or if it's something that is young, we'll just say, yeah, it's kind of young, or we're not big fans. If it's somebody that's a guest on the show, we'll be more delicate about it, but we're still going to be truthful with them. If it's a crew episode, then
good Lord,
God save their soul. It's like whatever. It's like because
baptism by fire,
man. Because everybody's going to rip into that. But if you're not putting out good whiskey, you can't expect people to lie about it, right? So you want to put out a good product, and if you're not, then somebody's going to call you out on it.
Yeah, then what are you doing?
And if it gets sent to the crew, Somebody's gonna.
Yeah,
Chad,
you picked
Chad's
the
gonna call you out.
wrong episode.
Yeah, Chad's gonna call you.
Your stuff highlighted. That's great. I wish.
I never thought about that, but that's
in hindsight. I had like a notebook or some way that I had written down like mash bills.
That's the thing.
Tasting notes.
I just thought about that, Matt. When I was doing the
that could
math.
be a Rolodex that I really wish I would have.
Just go back and listen to every episode.
Oh yeah, because I love hearing my voice that much.
Yeah. I mean, come on. How long would that take, Matt? Just an hour and a half per episode, 200 episodes. So what, 300 hours of your life? Nothing wrong with that.
I've got the time.
You could do that, right? Yeah. Between your training and your work. Yeah.
I wonder if like ChatGPT, if you would like.
Could we train somebody? Could we just hire somebody? Or could we just get, hey, ChatGPT, give us all the tasting notes from the Bourbon Life Podcast?
Well, yours are all just caramel and vanilla. So
thanks, Matt.
You're done. There's 90% of your work's
there you go.
You're welcome. I'll take my consulting fee.
Me and Denny Potter. That's right. Caramel and vanilla, right? Denny, if you're out there listening, man, I love you, bro. But yes, he and I are about as eloquent as it comes.
I couldn't just zooming out at that list.
I can't imagine. I never thought about that, Dave. But you're right. I mean, that's a lot. Now, we've probably repeated a few as well,
yes.
but
most certainly we have.
But still, I mean, that's probably 500 at least that would be unique or different, and that's probably why there's so many bottles. That's part of the reason
why your basement is a minefield of
Matt, the back room,
cracked and half-open bourbon bottles.
I've not even I've run out of space to put things, so I've started putting things just in the floor in the back room. And today I went back there and I was just like, there's probably 200 bottles just sitting on the floor in the back room of the basement. I need to get these shelves up. There's shelves that are over there meant to be built, right?
That was like
are the boxes still over there? Wait.
Probably, yeah, I can see them.
Okay,
the boxes are the same place they've been since like season
for
1
like
or 2.
3 years, right?
Yeah.
So eventually, I'm going to get somebody in here to do this, Matt. So let's talk about what we're drinking tonight.
Let's
right?
talk about some. Let's talk some number
whiskey.
601.
Oh, but we are the Bourbon Life Podcast presented by Liquor Barn.
That's right.
We got to say that. We don't have to say that, but we want to say that because we appreciate Liquor Barn. We appreciate all of our sponsors. Couldn't do the show and have all this fun without their support and their help. Oh, we're going to have a big episode coming up. I can't say much more about that.
Oh, yeah, big teaser alert. But
can't. Yes,
there is something later in this month. Works.
Yeah. So big time. Can't say much else about that. So Matt, I was talking about going to that dinner where I got to sit with Fred and Freddie, which was just a thrill to spend 2 or 3 hours with them and their wives, just chit-chatting. I mean, I could sit and listen to Fred No talk for hours, because he talks about his dad. He talks about other family members. He just talks about his early years in the industry, man. Just a wealth of knowledge.
Booker was a dick.
Pretty much. I mean, that's the relationship apparently that he had. I mean, it kind of seems like from our episode we did with him, it's like
tough love.
Booker was a tough man, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, so when I was there after the dinner, we got to go to the gift shop and they had a few things out. And this is one I had not seen, but this is
we got to go to the fancy that they let you in the gift shop.
In the gift shop where they're selling bottles like this, the Old Overholt, the 10-year-old. What did I say? 121 proof? Is that what it said?
Yeah, I think so.
121.
I think it's 121. 60.
Yeah, 121. Yeah, 121 proof. 10 years. Old Overholt. Yeah.
Old Overholt is a rye whiskey.
It is a rye whiskey
coming out of Jim Beam. This is kind of like in the Pennsylvania style of rye.
Yeah. Anyway, Matt, I saw this and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy it. Number one, just because I've never seen it before. Number two, I knew Matt would enjoy it. So you're the reason I dropped the money, because this was, I think it was like $110. Okay. It was kind of pricey, but I'm like, you know what? Never seen it. And I knew you'd probably enjoy it, or at least I thought you'd enjoy it. So, what do you pick up on? And the color on this one too. Again, super dark, right?
Yeah, another super dark one. Really, God, it's clinging so hard to the glass. It hasn't even started running yet.
Yeah, kind of crazy. So, what do you pick up in terms of the nose on this one, Matt?
This nose is thick.
It is. I mean,
first and foremost, it is full bodied.
Yeah, it is.
There's like subtle notes of. Amongst the corn and the rye, of course, that come across, I get like little whiffs of pine or evergreen.
Okay.
They kind of come through. Definitely barrel influence. You can tell this is an aged rye.
Older rye, yeah.
There's definitely a lot of the oak, a lot of that char is coming through, almost like toasted wood pulp.
Yeah.
Comes through.
I'm getting clove on this. Do you smell clove?
Yeah, I think of the baking spice, it's like goes a little bit more towards like the clove cardamom rather than like the cinnamon ginger.
I'm not a big clove fan because like clove cigarettes were a big thing back when I was in college, and I just hated the aroma of clove. But in this, because there's a sweetness that comes through as well. You know, we talked about that with that other Pumpernickel rye, kind of getting that Bulleit sugar type of thing. Not the same on this one, but there's still like this nice sweetness that comes through.
It's like orange marmalade.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of like clove mixed in with it, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, before, Matt, you've used the descriptor, those Christmas oranges where you take the cloves and push them into the orange.
Like the candied orange.
Yeah, like, kind of something like that maybe. Not what I expected. I mean, it's
yeah, I got to agree with you. I think.
Not what I thought. Not in a bad way. I mean, in a good way, right? But it's just, I kind of expected to be overwhelmed by spiciness and by, I don't know, but.
Well, the Pennsylvania rye is kind of what more typically like in the 70% rye range, where Kentucky would probably be closer to that 51.
Like barely legal, right?
And then you go like further out, Maryland's, New York's, you kind of get to like the 80 percenters, 80% ryes, and then of course the MGP, or kind of that common rye mash bill will be the 95% rye.
Well, New Riff, are they 95 or not?
95, they may, for some reason they may even be like 100, like 95.
Like 95 and 5% malted rye, right? Maybe. I think you're right. The very high rye content, their rye will like, it'll let you know it's a rye.
It's rye. But yeah, I think like you were saying, the corn on this cuts through a lot of that. And there could be, at 10 years old, I think barrel could play the barrel in mellowing out a lot of those rye notes, kind of those like peppercorns, those spicy spearmints. And
now, Matt, they make this in the 114 as well, right?
They do.
Because you got me I think you bought me a bottle of that. I saw
they
that
make
the
a
other
114, but I think that 114 proof, I think that's only like 4 years.
Yeah, it's a lot younger than this one, right?
Mistaken.
But it's in line with the old Granddad, which is the 114, right? And this bottle is very, I mean, I'm assuming it's probably the same bottle, right?
It's the old Granddad.
I don't think I have a set as that is to say. I mean, there's probably 10 different bottles around here.
Just not one.
They're just tucked away, right? For the 114. It's funny because when I was in Northern Kentucky, we were at the Hotel Covington. They got a restaurant there called Coppin's, and I was looking at their menu and I saw the 114 Old Granddad. I think it was like $8 a pour, something like that. I was like, yeah. Set me up. Yes.
Utah, give me 2.
That's exactly right, man. No doubt about it. So very, very nice, man. I like the nose on this one. I'm curious to see.
Found that rye.
What the, you already tasted it?
Yeah.
We're not going to spoil it yet.
We're not going to spoil it yet.
Yeah. So, Matt, what about, we got things coming out, like, well, we're almost in Derby season, right?
We are almost to Derby season. We're almost the most exciting 2 minutes in sports.
No doubt about
coming
that,
up
man.
in May.
Yeah. So, and you're a mint julep fan.
I am a mint julep fan.
Yeah. So much so that you named your dog.
Beloved dog.
Julep. Yeah.
Rest in peace, Julep. To me, so that's a funny question. It's something to talk about.
Sure.
What's the whiskey? Because everybody's got a different whiskey, right? Like, what is the whiskey what's your go-to? To me, it will always be Four Roses.
Okay.
That's the first julep I ever had.
What's Four Roses?
Was a Four Roses, the 50% 100 proof single barrel.
Okay.
And so to me,
that's it.
If it's going to be a perfect julep, it's got to have the Kentucky Derby is the run for the roses.
Oh, yeah,
of course.
It makes sense.
Just in my opinion, it should be.
Of course, now Woodford Reserve is now the official bourbon of the Kentucky Derby.
They are.
But Old Forester is the official bourbon of the mint julep.
Yes.
Of course, Brown-Forman is the sponsor, right? So they own both brands. So Woodford is the official bourbon of the Derby, the overall Derby. But Old Forester is the official bourbon of the mint julep. So, if you're going to be, I guess, technically official, you're gonna do one of those. And I'm happy. I mean, I like both.
Do you have a dog in the fight? Do you have a preferred?
You know what? I don't, Matt, because I'm not.
Because they're also good with a rye.
They are. I was just going to say, I think
a rye whiskey,
with the sweetness of, because you got the I mean, the mint is nice, and I think even with the rye, and you can pull out that mint from the rye whiskey itself, but still with all that sugar in it, I think I want something more that's going to punch through, almost like an old fashioned. I love old fashions, but man, I'm becoming more and more like I want an old fashioned made with a rye whiskey versus a bourbon.
Yeah.
Just because the sweetness from the bourbon.
It's almost like a time that you want a tannic bourbon, right?
Yes,
In
right.
old fashioned.
Something to bite through that sweetness,
like
man.
Cut through some of those and to really play with some of the bitters in it.
So I'm thinking, I think, you know what? I don't drink a lot of old fashioned or mint juleps. I've just never been that big of a fan of them. Over the last couple of years though, and you know, Old Forester makes a pre-made, which is actually pretty good.
So
Have you ever had it?
I've not.
Okay. I bought a bottle of it last year before, and I was pleasantly surprised with it. So I was like, okay, I can't remember what the proof is. Probably like 60 proof, you know, something.
Yeah.
60 proof, 30%.
Yeah. I was like, wait, am I right? Yeah. But I think it's pretty low proof.
Yeah.
But it was actually pretty tasty. I kind of enjoyed it. But I think I'd probably enjoy a rye mint julep. So maybe this year, that'll be the thing.
Yeah.
To find a nice rye with not necessarily high proof. I don't know that I want something. Well, I don't want to mix $110, whiskey into it.
Unless you're balling out for the Derby, right?
Hey, come on over to my house.
Yeah.
I'm making mint juleps with a $110 bottle of whiskey.
That's right. We're all going to Philip's place for the Derby.
That's right.
And Philip, we're expecting.
Yeah, Philip. Hey, you better have some
top shelf.
Yeah,
mint
or
juleps, buddy.
We're gonna have moonshine mint juleps at Philip's house, right?
That's right. He's gonna be distilling it on site. And he's just gonna fill us up off the
Hey guys,
the worm.
come out here to the garage. I want to show you something.
Yeah. Y'all thirsty?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think I'd probably lean more towards a rye. I think for a mint julep. I'll probably try that this year. But I think it's important, when we talk about this a little off camera, not necessarily doing a tasting for people, but what do you want to put on your bar? What do you want to have out for people to enjoy, right? I think mint juleps, yes, it is. I think it can be overdone, but I think if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right, And for the Derby, I think you're going to have to have a mint julep.
I think the julep is a cocktail that, like an old fashioned, is something you can enjoy 365.
Anytime.
Anytime.
True.
But just the fact that with a mint julep, you have to have simple syrup made on hand. You have to have fresh mint on hand. Mint, of course, is perishable.
Right.
So I don't know too many people that stock
have mint just laying around
every day
right?
of their lives. I mean, maybe there are some that are, and maybe there's some people that drink a julep
on a daily basis.
On the daily,
like Matt.
Yeah. But you said it right. If you're going to do it upright. Do it for the Derby.
I agree.
Have all your supplies for a mint julep on your bar.
Yeah, I agree with that. So get your mint. You don't want to muddle it too hard. You don't want to mess it up. It's funny because we went to an event last year, as a matter of fact, at Beam, and Fred was talking about making a mint julep. He talked about spanking his mint.
That's so how I've heard people do. You just kind of
you spank the mint,
slap it around in your hand a few times, and then just sort of rub it around the rim, and then put it in the glass.
Right. So you don't want to muddle it and bruise it, because it'll give almost a bitter aroma or flavor. So so Fred talked about spanking his mint, which is funny. So my wife she'll still say that when we're talking about mint julep. She'll be like, "Yeah, we just got to spank the mint." But I think that's important. You want to release the oils, but you don't want to get the bitterness that can come if you muddle it. But you want to have your nice shaved ice or your fancy ice. You don't want big ice cubes. You want to be able to pound the ice up if you can.
The crushed ice.
The crushed ice, yeah. But I think a rye whiskey would be good. I think I'm going to do that this year. But I think you want to have options for your guests, because you don't have to mix up like a huge pitcher of it. You can mix them. You can do them one at a time if you want to, or you can mix up some with rye, some with bourbon. But I think having those options available to your guests would be good if you're going to have a party, right? So,
yeah.
I think that would work. And of course, the Oaks Lily. The Oaks is the day before
right?
The Derby. The official drink is the Oaks Lily.
The Oaks Lily, yeah.
Right, which is vodka. Can't remember what's all in it, but it's like vodka, lemon juice, strawberries, maybe? I can't remember. I made one a couple years ago just because I wanted to be fancy.
Look at you.
But it was tasty. I mean, I enjoyed it. And I'm not a big vodka, kind of drinker or even a cocktail guy outside of bourbon cocktails.
Yeah.
But it was actually kind of refreshing. So that might be something fun to consider as well. Something, so it's not the Derby, right? But it's the Oaks the day before, but it's the Oaks Lily. So it was a fun drink to make. I enjoyed doing that. But I think that might be something people can consider to have on their bar available, just in case anybody else doesn't want to drink a mint julep, right?
Yeah. And is there anything julep for Derby party? What else? What else are you putting on the bar?
Derby
what else?
pie.
Well, okay. I was thinking more libation side, but of course, Derby pie.
I don't know, Matt. That's a good question because like you come to my house, you better be ready to drink bourbon or rye or something, right? Maybe
it's the Bourbon Life Studios.
Exactly right, man. So you better be ready. Water, keep my guests hydrated. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't know, Matt. I don't know what else I'm sure there's other cocktails people would like to have. Of course, there's quite a selection of bottles here. So if people want to start drinking things neat, obviously we can do it. And I do have mixers. I can make up other cocktails. I went on a big cocktail kick last year.
I remember.
Yeah, the Paper Planes. I've got a big fan of Paper Planes now. But even like the Vesper Martini, another one of my favorite drinks. Mm-hmm. So just fun things like that are light and pretty easy to make. Don't take a lot of time or effort. Mm-hmm. As long as you have the ingredients available to do it, just plan ahead and make sure you check the recipes out. Make sure you've got the appropriate things to make the drinks with. But yeah, man, if you're going to come to my house for a Derby party, you better be ready to drink bourbon. What can I say?
Hey, fair enough.
Matt, let's jump back to the Old Overholt, the Cask Strength 10-year-old rye whiskey. What do you pick up on the palate and finish on this?
It is spicy. Mm-hmm. That rye is definitely there.
It's there.
On the palate.
Yeah, it is.
Front palate, right away. Big old spicy slap right in the face.
Yeah. 121 proof too, right?
121 proof. Although I've got to say it doesn't drink the proof.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
That's true. I think the rye spice comes through more than what the proof is, right? So
big peppercorn, kind of that big mint, the rye grain, like real prominent right on the front of the palate, really bright. Some of those oranges come through right up front. And then the bourbon notes. I think that corn really makes its presence. It's got like sweet corn, almost like chocolatey popcorn, like chocolate kettle corn notes on it, kind of leading to like a nougat type long oaky finish. To me, this drinks like the spiciest 10-year bourbon you've ever had.
Good point. I can see that. Yeah. Very good point, man.
And I mean
like
that. In that it's a rye. This is
a rye whiskey.
This is not bourbon. This is rye, but it has a lot of the great bourbon notes, but
and man, that keeps going too, right?
Yeah, it is spicy. So this could be like the spiciest bourbon you've ever had.
So maybe it would be good in a mint julep.
For that price point, where I'm not going to find out if you want to. That's
I was gonna say,
that's your prerogative.
I really like this. I can't add much to what you already said there, Matt. So very nice, man. I don't know. I'm torn because I really, really like this, but that Pumpernickel rye was.
Well, these are two completely
things,
different
right?
rye whiskeys. Like that Pumpernickel rye was much more the like rye nuances rather than like the boldness of rye.
But man, I like that just the sweetness up front, but then also that rye punch, of spiciness, Matt. So yeah, I'm going to give the edge to this one. Out of these two ryes, but man, that's just really good. Matt, we're at the end of the show, man. We made it.
We made it
without a guest. Hopefully, our listeners have stuck around.
Yeah, we made it. I don't know if you all did, but
no doubt, man. All right,
if you did, sorry about that.
Any final thoughts before we wrap it up tonight?
Thank you, our listeners. Thank you, our sponsors. Thanks everyone out there, morning, noon, or night, whatever time it is, putting up with us this far, this long. It's been great. We've been getting a lot of good feedback lately too, which is really like a great affirmation that something's going on right.
Yeah.
And so we really appreciate that. We appreciate all of you tuning in and growing alongside of us with all this. We promise we're just going to get better.
Oh, man, that's a lot of pressure, though.
Well, we can't get worse.
Well, I was gonna say we can't, right? The only way to go from here is up. But no, I agree, Matt. Thanks a lot for that. But yeah, we appreciate all of our sponsors, Liquor Barn, our presenting sponsor, everybody else that works with us. We appreciate everything they do. Couldn't do the show without them. Couldn't bring you the quality that we do. Not necessarily that tonight's episode is representative of that level of quality that we want to bring, but no, it's fun, man. It's like, you know what? You make the best of unexpected circumstances, right? So
yeah.
So tonight was just one of those unexpected things. So our guest couldn't make it, and here we are.
It's always just great to sit around, catch up with you,
and
Mark.
just catch up. I appreciate that.
Sometimes the show gets lost, and that's how we started.
It is, man.
Just 4 years sitting around chewing the fat, and
crazy to think about. And I agree with what you said, Matt. It's so cool to have people come up and say things. You know, I was talking about the Bourbon Classic. And I don't know how many people come up to me and say like, "Hey, you're the Bourbon Life guy, right?" I'm like, you know, you're like, "Yeah, that's me." I'm like, "Man, I love your show. Love what you're doing. Great job." I'm sitting at the bar at the hotel at the Marriott, right? I had like 2 or 3 different people just randomly like, "Hey, I love your show." I'm like, "Seriously?" You know, because it's like the natural reaction to me is like, "For real? Really? You know?"
I'm glad one of us is getting that.
No, but no, it's just really cool.
Actually, I may have received the best compliment yet, personally.
Yeah.
Sarah said my girlfriend said she actually listened to one of our episodes, the Mike Rowe show.
No.
She said she actually listened to the whole thing.
No way. For real? Did she like it?
She did.
She listened to the whole thing, so she liked it.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I don't know. Well, now my wife does. She listens. Or she'll turn it on. She puts it on YouTube. She doesn't watch it, but she listens to it, right? So,
anyway, I interrupted you.
No,
Sorry.
No, that's fine. No, I was just saying. I mean, it's again humbling to be somewhere at a bourbon event and have, and these people are coming in to do these top shelf things, like these huge, big, fun, fancy people, distillers, etc. And, here I am sitting at a bar somewhere or at the event, and somebody comes up and like, "Hey, I love what you do." And it's like, for real? I mean, it's like, you really do? I mean, and my first question usually is like, is there anything you'd change? Or, what, I mean, I always want to be better. Like you said, I want to improve. And I always think, all right, there's got to be something wrong though, right? I mean, tell me what we're doing wrong.
Yeah, give me the
what's
the hook?
Yeah, give me, you like us, but what?
But yeah.
There's a but there, but there's not. I mean, so it's a unique experience to have that happen, Matt. So very appreciative of our listeners, our fans, our followers, everybody that's out there, man. Because, we do this, I always tell people we're like a conduit, right? We share stories of other people, the brands, the bourbons and whatnot. We just kind of let the stories flow through what we do. Mm-hmm. It's not about us, but we get to have a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like Mike Rowe was saying, the best honor is to be the guest on your own show.
Yeah. Good point. Exactly right. Yeah. So, thank you guys for listening. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you've hung out long enough to get to this point,
you got our sappy outro here.
Yeah, no doubt. But we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We will have guests coming back next week. We got some great guests lined up.
That's right.
It's going to be a lot of fun over the next few months.
And we do have something special in the works.
We do, in a couple of weeks.
Exactly
here. Right. And that's going to be a lot of fun as well. Mm-hmm. Guarantee you guys are going to love that. So, if you want to find us, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at The Bourbon Life. Oh, also, YouTube.
Hey.
Subscribe to us on YouTube. We'd appreciate that. Trying to grow that as well. We're doing pretty good, man. I'm really excited about it.
And that will be grown. We do have plans.
We have plans on that, yeah.
For YouTube.
That's right. Video plans and things.
Back burner simmering, but we're looking ready to up the fire.
Exactly right, man. So we're going to be putting out some more content. So go ahead and subscribe now while the subscribing is still good.
That's right.
And you can
get
still
in early, get in cheap.
That's right. So get in there and enjoy some YouTube stuff that we put out.
Subscribing's good.
But looking forward to growing that as well. We appreciate you guys checking that out and subscribing as well. If you want to email us, you can at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your suggestions for stories, anything you'd like to hear, any criticisms, like I said, hey, any way we can improve the show, we'd love to hear that. And I guess, with that said, the Bourbon Lifers, join our private Facebook group, the Bourbon Lifers. We'd love to have you in there. Also, Mike and the Whiskey Trip, be sure to check him out as well. His podcast comes out under our umbrella every Tuesday. So give him a listen as well. He's doing some really cool shows, so we appreciate Mike and love working with him. With that said, though, we'll wrap it up, send us home with our tagline, which is, may your glasses always be full. May you keep on living the bourbon life.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Our mission at the Bourbon Life is simple: to share our passion for all things bourbon with you every week. And we'd really love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also contact us by email at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. And you can always find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you have a moment, we'd love it if you would rate us and give us a review. So until next week, we hope your glass is always full and that you keep on living the bourbon life.
Welcome to the kitchen table at James B. Beam Distilling Company, where every visit is a celebration of tradition and flavor. Did you know that the kitchen table is nestled right within the heart of the distillery? That's right. You can experience the essence of James B. Beam's legacy while savoring their delectable dishes. Join them every Wednesday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. for a culinary journey like no other. Planning a special event? Let the kitchen table be your host, creating unforgettable memories for you and your guests. And don't miss their exclusive Behind the Beam tour and monthly Claremont Supper Club events, which will feature the last drop of 2023 special releases at the March 21st event this year. For more information and reservations, visit beamdistilling.com. The kitchen table at James B. Beam Distilling Company. Come as a friend, leave as family. Embrace the new year with a new style of whiskey. Keeper's Heart Irish American Whiskey, crafted by a legendary Irish distiller, is a unique blend of smooth Irish whiskey and bold American whiskey that has garnered over 130 awards in just 2 short years. And with St. Patrick's Day just around the corner, there's never been a better time to enjoy it. Perfectly suited for sipping neat, on the rocks, or in your Patty's Day cocktails. Personalize a label for free on their website and use code St. Patrick's for 17% off your order on keepersheartwhiskey.com now through St. Patrick's Day.